How did your high school crush turn out as an adult? Joined the military, was in live combat, became legally insane and honorably discharged, was homeless for a while and learned no one actually gives a crap about vets and it's all marketing fluff. Started piecing his life together, then accidentally got someone pregnant. He married her. She eventually cheated on him and they divorced. She kept going out and doing substances, so he got custody of their toddler. He was sleeping on a mattress on the floor and going out in pajamas looking ragged as heck. Also freaked out anytime certain triggers were introduced. We started playing D&D and it told him just because he's crazy doesn't mean he has to look like it. I convinced him to start grooming again and wearing nice clothes when he goes out like he used to. Eventually, he and his kid moved in with me, so neither of them are sleeping on a mattress on the floor. Now we have 2 kids together in addition to his. He still has his moment when the triggers happen, but they're manageable. He has a routine, and medication also got a lot of the things that were causing him pain fixed, which reduced the reaction to his triggers significantly. I also helped him out with VA stuff because, for some reason, it seems specifically designed to be as difficult for mentally ill people as possible. Story 2. Not great. He was smart in high school, which is why I liked him. I thought he'd have something going for him. He contacts me during lockdown. Surprise, surprise. But it seems sketchy. We were catching up. He told me his girlfriend, mother of his 2 kids, caught him cheating, so he had to move back in with his grandma. He also got fired and really isn't looking for a job. His ex kept his car and is making the payments. At that point, he was just being annoying because he was pushy and hanging out, but he was just a big turnoff now. They were talking about marriage and he's very opposed to it because a woman can take everything, according to him. After he said that, I go, "What do you possibly have that anyone would want?" He got mad. Never heard from him again. Thank God. Dodged a useless bullet there. Story 3. Oddly enough, we ended up matching on Tinder like 5 years after high school. It's a bit of a crazy story. We met up one night, but the vibes were really weird. She invited me over, but her friends were there and I wasn't expecting that. I could hear her and her friends talking when I got there and couldn't figure out what to do. It was a little hard to hear. They had me wait outside the door for a while though, at least 10 minutes. I think they went into the other room before she let me in. I asked her if her friends were here because they all left the room. She said no and that they left in a walk to give us alone time. I was like, weird, but whatever. I was about to fool around with my high school crush. I was blind to red flags. At that point, we had already exchanged a lot of photos. I figured she had to be pretty interested. So we went into a room and things got a little hot and heavy, but she seemed anxious and unsure after we started going further. I asked if she was okay. She said yeah, but that she had to go to the bathroom. She leaves the door open and seconds after her friends burst in through the door, she went in. They didn't really say much. They were just like, "Oh, hey, sorry. I'm blank and I'm blank." One had a genuinely sad, sympathetic face. The other one was a little awkward and I think hinted I should leave. So I left and said goodbye. I think she was still in the bathroom. I had no idea what just happened. She blocked me right after, too. It turns out she was married and looking to cheat on her husband of a few years. My guess is, since she was Mormon, she didn't have any experience until marriage, then realized she wasn't compatible with her husband and decided to cheat. I messaged the guy. I never opened the message and they're still married, so I assume he never read it and has no idea still. That was years ago. Or maybe she intercepted the message and deleted it. Story 4. I had a massive crush on a guy my senior year who was dating my elementary school oppressor. He confessed 2 years later he had a massive crush on me too, but we went to colleges in different states and I was dating someone else. 2 years after that, he was the victim of national news police torment. Survived, but I don't reach out because 20-year-old me had no idea what to say. 3 years after that, we moved back to our home city and I matched with him on Tinder. We talked and went on some dates, but he was leaving for law school and my life was kind of a mess, so we lost touch again. Now we're both lawyers, living in separate cities, dating different people. I think we could have made it work, but the timing never really worked out. He's doing well and a much more successful lawyer than me. Lol. Right person, wrong timing, I guess? Story 5. Early high school crush. Not a clue. Last I heard, he left high school without graduating and was living in his parents' basement. The true cliche of a greasy-haired loner. Late high school crush. We ended up being together a few times. I realized I had very little interest in him after prolonged contact. We ended things amicably, and when I ran into him a few years ago at a bookstore, he was very flirty and asked me out again. I politely said no. Good thing he was married shortly after and must have been dating at the time he asked me out again. The one that I liked all through high school ended up married to his first girlfriend. He got married and he gave up his dream of a very specific career, which he would have been amazing at. I believe they've had at least one kid. Barely any of her friends have seen or heard from him since he and his wife married. As most of us didn't like her much and he changed a lot when they got together. He stopped hanging out with his two best friends, both of whom were stand-up and wholesome guys just like him. She was not a kind person to any of us, and another friend overheard her outright lie about something myself, and another good friend said to her. It was a staff party, and we said something along the lines of, "You should come dance with us," which she reported to him as us calling her a witch. If it is any clue to her personality, she lied about having cancer in high school as well. So, as much as we all loved him, we couldn't be friends with her. I didn't see him again after that staff party, and in retrospect, and with maturation into adulthood, I think we've all realized that she was likely manipulating him. He cut out everyone, including most of his family. I hope he's okay. I hope there is safety and a moving environment for their children. He was such a smart, kind, and vibrant person. Well, I bet he's miserable. Story 6. He never got to be an adult. Shortly after graduation, he traveled to Ghana as part of a project to set up internet infrastructure. He purchased a secondhand motorcycle. A friend from school went to visit him, and they went for a ride. An intoxicated driver hit them on the bike on a dusty road in Ghana. They were taken to an aid station, but there was no doctor and no medicine. One friend lay in the bunk next to him, watching Mark. He screamed for days before he passed away. He was flown home, but he got stuck in his transit airport in an unrefrigerated warehouse for a month in summer. His mom had to identify, and she was never the same mentally again. When they had the funeral, most of the town went. It was very well liked. I couldn't go. It wasn't until weeks later when my sister looked at me and said I had been wearing the same clothes for a week that I realized how destroyed I was. To this day, it feels like a part of me was cut out of my soul since then. Story 7. I had a lengthy crush on a woman I met just after leaving school, 1978. I even intoxicatedly confessed this to her around 1994. We remained friendly, and in late 2011, we embarked on a relationship. And it was horrible. We were hilariously incompatible. She was an alcoholic, suffered from wild mood swings, and was periodically cruel, both verbally and physically. Our relationship ended with me flagging down a cop car and asking them to retrieve my stuff, meds, netbook, from her flat, after she'd refused to hand them over or let me in. 28 days later, I received a follow-up letter from Lothian and Borders Police with a list of resources for victims. 10 years later, that's still framed on my living room wall, so I never forget. Story 8. I had a crush on a girl in middle school. She started dating a piece of crap but cute guy at the end of 8th grade. 3 years later, the relationship was still on and off. We were 17, turning 18 that year. Now the story gets dark, so you've been warned. One day, they had a big fight in the middle of the night in the guy's apartment. Neighbors called the police. The police came, but the dude explained that she had left. Another police officer sees the girl's shoes on the floor, and they decide to investigate. Dude had her under the bed to keep her quiet. Police start CPR, and she starts to breathe again. Was in coma for 3 days and passed away in hospital. If she had woken up, then there would have been major brain damage due to lack of oxygen for close to 10 minutes. The argument, I believe, is over who gets the last cigarette. Guy got 10 years max here, but first-time offender, so he could be out by this year for all I know. Yeah, it's been 5 years now. You know, the rule should be, you take a life, you lose yours. Story 9. Oddly enough, me and my high school crush ended up in the same state. What are the chances that we both would move from New York to Nevada, a few years apart? She got married, later divorced, has 2 kids in college, started having kids young. Recently got married again to a guy with 3 kids. We ran into each other through a mutual friend who also happened to move out here. I will say this, she was very stuck up when we were younger and wouldn't give a guy like me the time of day. By the time she was a junior, she was already dating college freshmen with cars. I had nothing in terms of money. She looked crushed when I saw her. She was between marriages because I told her I was married with 2 kids. She told her mutual friend that she was very interested in getting to know me again. Probably after she found out that now I'm very successful with at least a dozen properties in my asset portfolio. Story 10. I never stopped wishing he made it to adulthood. 17 was too young. He met freshman year and we were that on again, off again, even when he changed schools. We dated other people, but were quick to blow them off for each other. Lol. I imagined him not going to college, but sleeping on my dorm floor when he tried hitting on someone there. Eventually, by spring, he'd follow some of the classes so we wouldn't have to go home or be alone. He'd find a way to join an intramural sport and make a few friends. He'd date his buddy's sister, but she's a witch and breaks his heart. But she got him to actually enroll in classes, so not a total loss. He'd give it another try, but seriously this time, as adults. But I'm getting ready to graduate and still figuring out life. By 21, we go to bars together and accept we're much better being best friends. I play this out a couple times a year for the past 26 years. Story 11. High school? I was only in high school for 3 weeks before going to juvie. When I got out, I went to high school while I was on probation in a small rural town in Texas where I hated everyone and everyone hated me, including my grandparents who hurt me on a regular basis. There was only one person in that entire area who wasn't insane with their religious hypocrisy, racism, and sexism, and I love her to this day. She saved my life. I would have ended it all if I hadn't seen her every day at school, but we were never meant to be a couple. She was a wild one, too much like my mom. My mom dated bikers. She loved to party and fight, and at the time, the girl I loved was just like her. Crazy, but I loved her dearly. Still do. But I digress. Today, she's a paralegal at a law office. She's got two amazing kids and is holding it down as a single mother, way more put together than my mother ever was. Story 12. Not really a crush, but dated. We were together almost all of high school and a couple of years in college. However, she said it wasn't going to work out because she saw me as too mature for her, even though we were the same age. So she broke things off because she wasn't prepared if I were to propose and ask her to marry me. However, that wasn't in my plans at the time as I was more focused on college. I'm actually glad she did dump me because now that I see what she's up to, she still acts like a high school freshman. It's honestly a bit off-putting and sad. I found her Tumblr account at some point and is basically a page of teen Disney actors who she has fantasies about being a white knight to come sweep her off her feet, which now is kind of creepy because she's in her mid-20s and she talks very creepily about them. Like fantasy level, and she's been called out on it by some people on her page, and her justification is, it's just a headcanon. Like these very real people's ages can just be changed because she fantasizes over them. I think she needs help. Story 13. Number 1, calls himself an entrepreneur, travels a bit, always seems to have a new startup or venture he's involved in, has had some history with substances and the law. He puts a good face out to the world now, and on paper it looks like he's doing really well, but from social media and some brief conversations we have had, I don't think he's happy with his life. Number 2 appears to be an Instagram model now. She does lots of traveling and lives some nomadic life with her long-term boyfriend. She looks happy. The other one turned out even better than anyone, including me, expected. Still a little boring and very nerdy, but has so many exceptional traits he has further developed since adulthood. Patience, loyalty, perseverance, acceptance of others, has a good work ethic and strong morals. He's a fantastic father, even more good-looking with age. Joseph Gordon-Levitt vibes, and works hard at marriage. I'm very glad I married him. Ooh, plot twist. Story 14. Dated her for 7 years. Had a miscarriage, which to her was a sign from God that we weren't meant to be together. So she cheated, found another boyfriend right away, and gained a crap ton of weight. Admittedly, if I hadn't found out, she wouldn't have told me and would have kept living 2 lives because she wanted me for the emotional support and relationship side of stuff, but wanted to have intimacy with other people. I, on the other hand, took a good year and a half off life, dropped out of school and quit my job and ended up wearing grippy socks for 72 hours. Later on, I ran into an amazing woman that I went to middle school with who just signed on with an acting agency in LA. I lost a bunch of weight, quit doing substances, re-enrolled in school, and found a very nice job. Happier than ever. She still hits me up from time to time to see if she's still got a hold of me in case things don't work with her boyfriend and she can come crawling back. It's amazing. I thought I had it made with my ex. I was blind to a lot of stuff because I hadn't been through it before to recognize it, so I thought this was as good as it gets and didn't know any better. My lord is my new girlfriend, an astronomical upgrade in every way. Story 15. 2 crushes in high school. First one I had a crush on since kindergarten. She's a single mom living with her parents. Her family is rich, so she doesn't really have to work. Still beautiful and leads an active lifestyle, but keeps herself out of the dating scene for some reason. Not like I'd have the guts to try. We basically had a mutual best friend in high school, but we never spoke a word to each other. Second, I actually dated for a while in college. We're still close friends. She's married, with a kid. Currently transitioning to a new career path because she wasn't happy with the old one. Middle-class worker that does night shifts. Her work is pretty laid back, so we often game till 2 to 3 a.m. on slow days. Story 16. Due to life, I moved in with a new family to live in Ohio when I was 7. I started 2nd grade and I was super nervous, and there was a girl crying when I walked in on the first day because she was nervous about the first day of school. I fell in love at first sight. I ended up talking to her, we became friends for the next 2 years, and I think I even told her I loved her. I think later that year, but I might not have ever told her directly. I don't really remember. But she had a thing for bad boys. One schmuck in particular who would always steal her jacket and run it around the playground. Well, I played White Knight trying to get it back if I remember correctly. After 4th grade, I didn't really have any classes with her or talk to her again until senior year in high school, I believe. I would often look at and obsess over her yearbook pictures throughout the years and try to steal glances at her in the hallways at school and whatnot. I sent her some candygrams throughout the years as that was about the best I could muster. Perhaps anonymously, but she would always receive tons anyways from other guys. It was kind of awkward being in the same class in high school. I would always be trying to steal secret glances at her. She was just so beautiful. We worked on a couple projects together that year and it was nice, but still pretty awkward, and understandably she didn't really remember me, I think, even though she was pretty much all I thought about over the years. As a beautiful and fun-loving girl, she was popular and I'd become a semi-nerdy introvert. Anyway, I had that crush all the way up through high school, and then I moved to Florida. And about 2 years after high school, I worked up the courage to add her on Facebook and messaged her with a short, lame message, simply admitting I had a crush on her since the second grade. She said she'd always thought it was so nice and that she was glad I got that off my chest. That was about the end of it. 13 years later, I'm now 33 years old and I still haven't really had a real relationship. I don't obsess over her anymore, but I still do look over her Facebook and Instagram posts from time to time, and she's still beautiful. She's still single, but she looks like she's happy and enjoying life. She has always seemed like she's happy, so I'm happy for her. Thank you for reading my life story. I've never shared this with anyone before. Story 17. I've had a crush on him since I was 12. Got together when I was 22. I was pretty much over it after 2 years, but I kept holding on and trying to make him fall back in love with me however I could. Took him another 2 years to grow the guts to leave me, but not before trying to fool with anyone else with a pulse. Within 6 months, he was engaged to another girl from our hometown who I suspect he spent a few business trips with. So yeah, they're married, had a kid a while back. From the few pictures I've seen, my friend is a stalking exes type, lol. He's getting the same look in his face that he had with me. In the beginning, it was all smiles, but over time the light leaves his eyes and he doesn't smile in any picture. He's just there. Well, you're a dad now, bud. Keep off the sugar and buckle in. Story 18. I'm sure this will get buried, but anywho. Not high school, but middle school. I was best friends with my crush, and we would hang out in our group of friends every single weekend. We were always super close, and I had a crush on her, but she was always dating one of my friends. I was kind of dumpy with bad teeth, glasses, and not athletic in the least, so I can't really blame her. After middle school, when we arrived in high school, she dropped out to pursue her career as a singer or songwriter. She had a beautiful voice and is very talented, and I continued going to school. We drifted apart as she was traveling all over the country, Canada, and into the States. Flash forward 8 years later, and I was now 25 years old. A night out at the bar, and who do I see standing out front but her? We started talking, and it was like we were never apart at all. I now had grown into my own. I got tall and had braces all through high school, which fixed my teeth. Still a little dumpy and not athletic, but arguably better looking than I was at 12 years old. We hung out the whole night at the bar together, and the next day, and the day after that, and now we have lived together for 2 years and have been dating for 5. I'm glad we never dated earlier and that we had that time apart to grow up. I love her with all my heart, and I'm very lucky to be with her. Love you, Alana, if you read this. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos like this. Story 19. We had to split up when she went to med school in Chicago. We rode for a while, but eventually that faded away. I have a wonderful wife and family, but I still thought about her. I ran into her sister at a conference about 20 years later. As soon as she saw me, she got a very sad look on her face. I couldn't imagine why. We said hellos. We always liked each other. Then she said her heart sank when she saw me. She knew she was going to have to tell me about her sister. 5 years earlier, she was terminated as she was leaving her clinic in an attempt to steal stuff. I was devastated. She showed me pics of her before. She was as beautiful as the last time I saw her. My wife was very understanding and just let me grieve for a time. Story 20. Not entirely high school crush, but this was what I thought of. A girl I did go to high school with. I talked to her some in college and we hung out a few times. After school, we crossed paths again and dated a short time. Had fun. Went out, dates, the like. But after a short time, she was pressuring that she was dating to get married. Nothing wrong with that. I was not fully ready for that step in that time of my life, but she did talk about how important it was to her and her Christian beliefs, and she wanted whoever she married to work to become a deacon of the church. Again, nothing wrong with that. Been a while since I've heard anything about her. Met my wife about 4 years ago, married for 2, but last I heard of other chicks, she's a single mother, so I'm pretty sure, from the way she described, none of those things can happen now. Story 21. I don't know. He doesn't really post on Facebook much. He got engaged this year. No kids before marriage, no vices, as far as I can tell. Seems to be doing well. I'm glad. The other one is still gay as heck, so I never had a chance, but he was my BFF nonetheless back then. He nearly passed away in 2020, which was terrifying. Like every day I was waiting for the possibility. I cried a lot. He's still struggling after doing a seriously minimal amount of exercise, so physically, he's not doing great. For the record, I'm happily married to a great dude I met at age 25. Story 22. She got Botox, and I don't know, never knew her. Never worked up the courage to talk to her. If she walked into the same room, I would quickly get up and just run out of there. Then I would stare at her during class and smile very big when our eyes met. Not a cute smile either, but more of a, I want to see if you're as beautiful on the inside as you are on the outside. My teacher noticed that I was staring at her a lot and blushing, so she put us in the same group once. I got so nervous that I just sat and looked straight into the wall. I managed to stutter one question for her. Do you like cats? I'm surprised she didn't call the cops on me. I'm also very happy that I've been out of town when my friends bump into her. Ooh, somebody has a crush. Story 23. 2, actually. The first, we had a falling out. I wasn't the man she wanted, even though I was and did my damned hardest to prove it, but ultimately it either wasn't hard enough or I overstepped my or our boundaries and she started dating this other dude. And I took that pretty hard. Last I heard, she suffered some brain damage from the guy she thought she wanted and lost a lot of memory from her teenage years. Doesn't remember me or her best friend and has pretty much fallen off the face of the earth. We suspect she's on the run from her ex, who she had a child with. The second time we dated, we were going strong, but I was an idiot and joined the Navy thinking long distance would work. Spoiler alert, it didn't, and he was a, "Dear John, I'm fooling with someone I told you was a friend. His name is Jody," kind of situation. We kept in contact still after that, but as I grew older, I matured little by little, and she didn't. I was in my mid to late 20s when I realized she wouldn't anytime soon because she was constantly throwing high school parties or just drinking. Story 24. He was hot and cute. He had a nice medium build, brown eyes, and matching brown hair. We kissed at one point, but he wasn't into me. He chose the loud girls over me. After we left school, I'd still think about him. Until I joined Facebook, that is. For some reason, his forehead doubled in size and he looked really hairy with a receding hairline. Then he began to try to text me and I just saw him for what he was. A creepy schmuck who strung me along and was trying to do it again. Except this time, he looked like what he was. In the end, he or I deleted the other off Facebook. I can remember who, and he settled down with a very pretty nice-looking blonde woman. The total opposite to the girls he dated in high school. I'm happy for them, but also glad it's not me. Story 25. The rich, popular girl who dumped me for a football player is married to a guy who kind of resembles me, weirdly. The nice, non-threatening pop-punk girl I hung out with is living with, but not married to a heavily armed ex-Marine in the Mojave somewhere. The nerdy horse girl who had a thing for me went through a polyamorous phase and got knocked up and posted on Facebook because she hates her young child for slowing down her lifestyle. I only missed the second one, but any sort of romantic gesture to get her back would probably just get me and left for the buzzards in the baking desert sun. Plus, the women I got with after high school were better looking because I was better looking from college on. Story 26. He got his girlfriend pregnant before she finished high school. She was 2 years younger. Then, sometime after they had their second child, a rumor went around saying that he had cheated and that the woman's baby was actually his. Still wonder if it's true. I know the woman, but not enough to ask. Plus, it's been years and the little girl looks like her. The other woman was married with 3 kids already. She might have already been pregnant when the cheating happened, so who knows. He didn't divorce. He moved to Colorado for a few years and came back a few years ago. He's a dentist now, and they welcomed their third child around the same time my husband and I welcomed our first. Weirdly enough, my husband's best friend is his little brother. I didn't meet my husband until my last year at college, so it's weird how small the world is. Story 27. Pretty great, actually. He has a dream job, living where everyone wished they lived, married and happy. I am happy for him because I'm doing pretty well myself. I guess I would be pretty jealous otherwise, lol. But I'm mostly jealous about his job. We're not close friends or anything, but we still have some mutual friends and keep in contact. We are in our mid-30s now. Come to think of it, my high school boyfriend is also pretty happy and doing well. Never finished college, but he did start his own scuba diving business in a sunny seaside city, and married a girl he'd been dating for a long time. I mean, I know I'm being boring, but I guess I was lucky. Story 28. I had 2. One from the place I did karate and one at my actual school. The one I went to my school moved halfway across the country, had 2 kids, and seemed to be doing well. Other than that, I don't know too much. She cut off ties with most of us from high school, even her BFF. The other now has a kid too. Did the same college program I did and works in the federal government. Pretty much life turned out pretty well for them. For the longest time, I joked with myself that many of my crushes go out and lead pretty happy, successful lives, and if we got together, that life would be so much worse for them. But thankfully, a few of them later in life broke the streak. Story 29. My high school girlfriend was my crush. She's actually a pretty good friend of mine now. Still very attractive. Doing very well financially. Just continued to have pretty crap luck with relationships. On marriage, 3 by 35. Her parents were pretty crappy, so she moved out and went into the military as soon as she could. We had a pretty bad breakup, but still fooled around off and on for the next 4 years when she came back to town. We kinda lost touch because she moved across the country. We reconnected on Facebook and still talk, but it's entirely like old friends. Glad to be friends. Glad it didn't work out, though. Story 30. She dated a guy from my class for a while. He played her big time. Then she worked as an airline stewardess for the top international airline and was dating a pilot for a long time who played her too. Years later, we met through Facebook and she barely remembered me. She was single. We started to hang out and became friends. I was friend-zoned, of course. Also, I was into someone else at the time, but we fooled around in 2013. She got really into me really fast and wanted something serious, but I couldn't get over that other girl then. She just deleted me from social media. Last I heard, she married a guy in 2016 who I know is a real freaking schmuck to women and claimed to be a player publicly on social media. I have no idea where she is now, but I hope she's fine and happy with kids and all. Story 31. She's my best friend. I still care about her and all that, but I don't want a relationship with her due to that risking losing our friendship, which is not something I want to lose, especially with all the stuff she's done for me and all I've done for her over the years, and with how rough high school was on us. She's in the military too. She was in college with me for a little bit until it got too stressful for her, so she just decided to quit university. I don't blame her. She was pestered when she started college for all kinds of crap, like her PTSD, her military career, and for being a victim. And even after I ran the oppressor off to protect her, the stress was still there, which resulted in us both having to get counseling. Other than military work, she also rescues and fosters animals, most of them being dogs and cats, which is something she absolutely loves to do. I've never seen anyone have as much of a soft spot for animals as her. She's also in a good relationship right now. I'm happy for her. She needs some good in her life rather than all the crap the world throws at her. Her mental health has gotten better, as is mine too, and things are improving for us. Like I said, I don't want a relationship with her. I'd rather keep her as my best friend since she isn't someone I want to lose. And I'm not a person who really needs romantic relationships anyway. Story 32. There were several. One had a crap load of kids and got really fat. Saw her at a Walmart a few months ago looking like a ragged bag, which is unfortunate because she went from a solid 13 out of 10 to a soft 2 out of 10. Another had a few kids, got divorced, is still single, still super hot, still super funny, and still super crazy. She's been arrested at least once for fighting a cop. We still talk every once in a while. My high school sweetheart had 3 different kids from 3 different dads, ballooned up to an ungodly amount of weight, and now lives off the government. She's a decent enough person. She just never stood a chance of being successful because her upbringing failed her so badly. I got to fool around with a few others who stayed decent looking several years after high school. The old, I used to have the biggest crush on you line you use on Facebook Messenger at 3 in the morning never fails. It was like living out a lifelong what-if fantasy. Story 33. Well, he turned out to be a substance-crazed, paranoid, schizophrenic man. I didn't realize that until dating him for about a year and almost getting terminated by him. I was obsessively in love with this guy when I was young. This crush lasted 4 years. He broke my heart choosing another, older girl. I left my high school town and went to university. Left the country, became an adult, had a mature relationship that at some point broke down. I returned to my home country when I was 29, and suddenly this high school crush turned up on Facebook and reached out. Reignited my high school crush feelings. Boy, was I sorry that I didn't listen to my gut instinct. Story 34. My junior high crush jumped on the Trump train. Before that, she did the beauty pageant circuit for a while. Did okay at that, I guess. Was like runner-up for the state or something. She recently graduated with her PhD in communications. Seems like things are going well for her. I think she was engaged at one point, but I don't know now. I was a huge schmuck in junior high and early high school who thought I was being romantic by being persistent, but I realize now that I was being creepy and invasive. So I really do regret that. But I also think it's good we didn't wind up together because we're very, very different people now. My high school crush got really into grass toward the end of high school, and I was like super Christian, so I basically stopped talking to her even though I think prior to that the crush had been mutual. She got pregnant a couple of years after high school and then got a very specific kind of religion. I think she's doing good now, but I deleted all my personally identifiable social media about a year ago, so who knows. She still lives in the town we went to high school in, and I haven't been back there in over a decade now. Story 35. I ended up dating mine most of high school. It was a piece of crap even back then. Eventually got tired of it and broke up with him. Anyhow, he lost basically all his childhood friends, including my brother. Only hangs around other pieces of crap now. Refuses to get a job, so he lives with his mom. Is an alcoholic. This was a major issue in our relationship. I'll admit I would drink here and there, but not often. He wanted to do it all the time and made it a personality trait, which I wasn't into. I got called not fun because I didn't feel like binge drinking shots at 5 p.m. on a Wednesday. Seems to have no motivation in life other than leeching. Dated a girl briefly who was just as bad, but they broke up not long ago from what I've seen. It was a very public breakup on Facebook, of all places. Anyhow, he was cruel towards me, but it seems to have escalated since then, from what I've heard. Someone I know threatened to call the cops on him for hurting his now ex outside her house. She refused to give him money to buy whatever since he relied on her and his mom for basically an allowance. Last I spoke to him, he had messaged me asking for something he had left at my parents' house years prior because his girlfriend didn't like that I still had it even though I had repeatedly tried to give it to him, only to be told to keep it. I was upset I wasn't in the best mood for a conversation when it came to get it. Overall, not a good person. He's going to either end up in a ditch, homeless, or in jail. I do have slight sympathy for him, knowing his past, and he wasn't always like this. He'd been my brother's best friend since they were 5. When we first got together, he was actually a decent person. Just over the years, he changed. By the end of our relationship, I remember saying it was like looking at a familiar stranger, even his eyes were colder. I didn't recognize him as that shy kid that used my brother as an excuse to come see me and awkwardly flirted by walking me to class, saying he was going the same direction when I knew his class was on the opposite side of the building. Despite all that he put me through, I really do hope he gets his life in order and gets better. I doubt it will happen, but I've seen stranger things happen. Honestly, if he hadn't turned out this way, he could have had a bright future. He's extremely smart, had a free ride to a great college, and was extremely charming or likable. It could have gone far in life, and I hate to admit it, but if he hadn't gone down this path, if nothing major happened, I probably would still be with him since we were extremely compatible for a long time. He was accepted by my family as their own, and he basically lived with me through most of high school, only really going home to sleep. Sort of glad the breakup happened, though, even though all he put me through did mess me up for a long time. I wouldn't have ended up with my husband if I had stayed with my ex. I couldn't imagine spending my life with anyone else, and I'm very content with the life we've built with each other. Story 36. Well, now this is quite good. I was stupid enough to actually call this girl on the phone and ask her if she'd go out with me. I was rejected, crushed, and had to endure the tittering and scorn of her and her friends. Mortifying, but a life lesson learned for sure. So here I am, literally 30 years later, passing through a town near my old hometown for work. I stopped for some food, and the woman serving behind the counter had a stern expression, a loud voice, and visible tattoos on her forearms, showing signs of age. Slowly, it dawned on me that she was my high school crush. I said hi and made some small talk. She remembered me. I left and traveled on. Looked her up on Facebook later. Turns out she got knocked up quite young and spent the rest of her time popping out kids and working various low-pay jobs. Seems a decent person, just roughened up a little by life. To think she could have had me. The twists and turns of life, eh? I wonder what might have happened if we got together way back then. Could have been worse, could have been better, or about the same I posited. It's weird to think about. Story 37. I haven't really been in touch with many of my old crushes, but the ones that I have managed to find something about, all right. My childhood crush. We went to elementary together, but different middle and high schools. But anyway, recently graduated from UC Davis for the degree in engineering. It makes sense because she was always the smartest girl in class and was really into math and science. My main crush throughout high school was working towards becoming a nurse. Last I heard, she works as a caregiver. A 10th grade crush moved to a city about an hour away from where I live. She had a YouTube channel where she would review books. Last I checked, she now makes TikTok videos. My 11th grade crush and I stayed friends for a while before we went our separate ways. We follow each other on Facebook and Instagram. She usually posts drawings there. She also posts a lot about metal music, particularly Korn and Slipknot. Story 38. I was thinking back to this last night. I had a crush back in school, maybe year 10 to 11 time. My first one. She was funny, radiant, and just a lovely person to be around. She was into the 60s, Vespas, Northern Soul, Motown, you name it. And at that time, I just felt that was so unique and different that it really attracted me to her. She had a twiggy look about her, and she suited everything she wore. I remember trying to pursue this, but being a naive teenager, I never really did the right things, and as a result, we stayed friends, but just sort of drifted apart. She got engaged, moved a few hours away, and seemed happy. Out of nowhere, while I'm at university, I got a text from her, and she was clearly angry with her partner. Told me they'd broken up and was reaching out to me in a, "we have unfinished business, let's fool around" kind of way. But I had a new partner at this time. I just dismissed it and stayed at arm's length from her. Prior to her sending this, we'd barely spoken for years. Long story short, she broke up with him, moved back to near where I live, and is a complete 180 of the person I knew back in high school. She's gone into modern music, cars, clothing, etc., and doesn't have any of those mod rock qualities about her anymore. Maybe the relationship ruined her love for those things, or maybe she just grew up. But yeah, she seems to be happy now, so I'm glad for her. Well, if you like these stories, here's more. YouTube thinks you're gonna love this. Catch you in that video.